GMNA uses artificial intelligence for generated speech, visuals, and production. AI-generated content may contain errors. Please verify important information before making decisions or taking action.
Here are our top stories.
A yellow thunderstorm warning now covers multiple sectors of Quebec, including Montreal Island, after weather officials flagged violent storms for today. Conditions remain hazardous as the alert stays in effect. Elise Marchand has the full story.
Violent thunderstorms are moving across the province, prompting a yellow warning that now covers multiple sectors, including Montreal Island. Météo Québec issued the alert on Monday, noting an elevated risk of intense rain, strong gusts, large hail, and frequent lightning. Residents in the affected zones are advised to secure loose objects, avoid outdoor activities where possible, and stay tuned for any upgrade to the warning level. The system is expected to persist through the afternoon, with the most severe conditions forecast for the western part of the island and nearby suburbs. Authorities are monitoring the storm's development and stand ready to respond if conditions deteriorate. Elise Marchand, GMNA News, Montreal.
Today, the 901 Taschereau bus line rolled out across the South Shore, stitching together transit zones that have long run apart. The new metropolitan route runs from the western edge of the borough, near the Jacques Cartier Bridge to the eastern suburbs, offering a single, continuous service where riders once had to switch between separate systems. SDM officials say the line will cut travel times and simplify connections for commuters heading to work or school. Buses depart every 15 minutes during peak hours and every 25 minutes off-peak, with plans to add weekend service later this summer. Early riders report smoother journeys and fewer transfers. The launch marks the first major integration of South Shore Transit since the REM opened, and the route will remain in operation as the network expands.
An aircraft incident is set to unfold at Montreal Trudeau International Airport this evening at 7:30. According to an airport spokesperson, a plane malfunction on the runway triggered emergency protocols, and one airport employee was injured and will be transported to hospital for treatment. The response includes fire rescue units, medical teams, and security personnel securing the area while the runway remains closed pending investigation. First responders arrived within minutes, deploying specialized equipment to contain any fuel spill and ensure the safety of nearby staff. Officials said the incident does not affect scheduled flights beyond the immediate vicinity, though passengers may experience delays. Airport management is coordinating with local health authorities and the Quebec Safety Board to assess the cause. Travelers are advised to monitor airline communications for updates. The situation will be closely tracked as authorities work to restore normal operations.
2 suspects, a woman in her 30s and a teenage boy, have been charged with premeditated murder of a gang-linked youth in Montreal on Thursday, August 20th, 2026. Anton Prévost has the full story.
Police say a woman in her 30s and a teenage boy were arrested Thursday after investigators linked them to premeditated killing that unfolded in broad daylight on a busy Montreal street. The victim, a young man known to be involved with local gangs, was found with multiple gunshot wounds near the intersection of St. Laurent and Papineau. Officers arrived within minutes, secured the scene, and identified the 2 suspects, who are now facing first-degree murder charges. Neighbors reported hearing several shots just after noon, and witnesses described a brief confrontation before the assailants fled on foot. The investigation remains ongoing as detectives piece together the motive behind the planned attack. Anton Prévost, GMNA News, Montreal.
Mayor Soria Martinez Ferrada warned today that recent United States import duties are having an extremely worrying impact on the city's economy. She told reporters that a wave of higher tariffs on key goods is already squeezing Montreal manufacturers, logistics firms, and retailers that rely on cross-border supply chains. The mayor said the added costs are forcing some companies to delay investment, reduce staffing levels, and consider relocating production outside the province. Ferrada emphasized that the city's fiscal outlook depends on stable trade conditions and urged the federal government to engage Washington on a swift resolution. She added that monitoring will continue as the tariff regime evolves, and that municipal officials are preparing contingency measures to protect jobs and maintain growth. The statement comes amid broader concerns across the region about the ripple effects of the new trade policy.
Later, we'll hear how about 20 Montreal suburban mayors call for more transit funding, plus the thunderstorm warning update. We will be right back.
Every day, important stories happen across the city before any news crew arrives. Sometimes the very first person at the story is you. When you witness something newsworthy, open the GMNA Citizen Reporter app and start your report. The app guides you through every step while your report is delivered directly to the GMNA newsroom. Every submission is reviewed by our editorial team, and approved reports may be featured on GMNA. Get the GMNA Citizen Reporter app today at my.gmna.ca. Your city, your news. Welcome back. Roughly 20 mayors from municipalities in the island's northern suburbs have issued a joint appeal for a substantial boost to public transit funding. The coalition, representing communities across the Laurentides and Lanaudière regions, argues that recent population surges have outpaced existing service capacity and threaten to strain commuter flows into the city. In a statement released this month, the mayors warned that without additional provincial resources, bus and commuter train frequencies could deteriorate, undermining economic growth and quality of life for residents. Their demand arrives as the provincial election campaign kicks off, putting transportation policy squarely in the political spotlight. Provincial officials have not yet responded, but the coordinated call underscores the growing pressure on Quebec's government to address infrastructure gaps in rapidly expanding suburban corridors. Stakeholders say the timing could influence budget allocations ahead of the fall legislative session.
Former La Presse columnist Vincent Marisol is leaving the Rosemont riding to contest the Taschereau district for the Parti Québécois ahead of the upcoming provincial election. Anton Prévost has the full story.
Vincent Marisol, a former La Presse columnist, announced today he is abandoning the Rosemont riding to seek the Parti Québécois nomination in the Taschereau district. Standing outside the campaign office on Rue Taschereau, Marisol said the move reflects his desire to connect with a new community ahead of the upcoming provincial election. Party officials here confirmed his candidacy will be filed before the party's deadline. The shift comes as the PQ looks to rebuild its presence in central Montreal, and local supporters gathered to hear Marisol outline his priorities on housing, public transit, and cultural services. He thanked volunteers from his former constituency and urged them to continue the fight for progressive policies. Anton Prévost, GMNA News, Taschereau.
5 officers from the Service de Police de Montreal are currently appealing an unpaid suspension imposed after a high-speed chase through Plateau Mont-Royal earlier this month. The Police Ethics Administrative Tribunal ordered each officer to sit out between 30 and 42 days without pay, citing misconduct during the pursuit. In their appeal, the officers argue the tribunal committed serious procedural errors that invalidate the disciplinary ruling. Legal counsel for the officers says the decision was reached without sufficient review of video evidence and without granting the officers a full opportunity to present their side. The tribunal has yet to schedule a hearing on the appeal, and the case remains active as both parties prepare for further proceedings. The outcome could affect how disciplinary actions are administered within the police force officially.
College La Salle warns that a $47 million debt owed by the Quebec government could push back the start of classes for its fall term. The college says the unresolved balance threatens its ability to admit students on schedule, leaving thousands of enrollees uncertain about when courses will commence. Provincial officials have not confirmed a timeline for repayment, and the institution is reviewing contingency plans while urging the government to settle the shortfall. If the debt remains unpaid, La Salle may be forced to postpone the academic calendar, disrupting program timelines and potentially affecting financial aid disbursements. The situation adds pressure on the education sector, as other post-secondary institutions watch closely for any precedent in handling large governmental liabilities. The campus, situated in the southwestern borough of La Salle, hosts a diverse mix of vocational and university preparatory programs, and administrators say the delay could ripple through partner schools and industry placements.
The federal government has committed $11 billion to construct 6 new icebreakers in Quebec, replacing aging Coast Guard vessels, and delivering on a promise made in 2019. Simon Fortier has the full story.
The federal government has just earmarked $11 billion to construct a fleet of 6 new icebreakers at shipyards in Quebec. Finance Minister Carney announced the funding alongside senior officials from the Canadian Coast Guard, saying the vessels will replace the service's aging heavy and medium icebreakers. The move fulfills a promise made back in 2019 to modernize the Coast Guard's capabilities in the Arctic and Great Lakes. Officials expect construction to begin later this year, with the first ship slated for delivery in the early 2030s. The new cutters will boost Canada's ability to keep shipping lanes open during harsh winter conditions and support scientific missions in icy waters. Simon Fortier, GMNA News, Montreal.
Let's get a look at tonight's forecast and see how that thunderstorm could affect us.
A stagnant high-pressure dome and a sluggish southwest keep tonight's sky locked in overcast silence. On this date, Montreal once scorched to 33 degrees Celsius in 2021, a blistering peak that rode the tail end of an unprecedented heat wave across the province. The coldest reading came in 2013, when temperatures fell to 10.3 degrees Celsius during a sudden Arctic dip that caught the city off guard. Typical August normals hover around 22 degrees for the high and 15 for the low, so today's 22 and 15 sit comfortably within the long-term range, underscoring the modest swing between record extremes. The live radar screen is a clean slate, no rain echoes across the province. A thin veil of high pressure aloft suppresses lift, while the low-level jet drifts gently from the southwest, offering no impetus for convection. With the atmosphere holding steady, any moisture that might have formed is being sheared apart, leaving the map quiet. I now turn to tonight's outlook. At 11 p.m., Montreal sits under a thick overcast with a temperature of 17 degrees, humidity at 86%, and a gentle 6 km/h breeze from the southwest. Dew point 15 degrees confirms the air feels damp, while pressure remains near average and steady, a sign that the large-scale pattern is not shifting. Overhead, a southwest jet streams at 48 km/h, its modest speed and the 5,667-meter 500 hpa ridge steering clear of the region, reinforcing the calm. With no fronts approaching, the night will stay cloud-laden but dry, and tomorrow will mirror the current conditions. A high of 22, low of 15, overcast skies, and a UV index of 4. Winds will stay below 25 km/h, and there are no active weather alerts. Tuesday repeats the overcast theme with a high of 22 and a low of 15, the jet stream maintaining its southwest flow. Wednesday clears dramatically, allowing sunshine to warm the city to 24 with a low of 15, a brief respite before the weekend. Thursday brings a shift as a weak trough nudges the jet, generating light rain and a 65% chance of precipitation. Temperatures climb to 26, dropping to 18 at night. Friday returns to clear skies, high 22 and low 14, as high pressure rebuilds. Saturday mirrors Friday, offering another clear day with a high of 22 and a low of 14, setting the stage for a calm, stable end to the week. And that's your weather. Remember, the wrap is also available as a podcast. Listen anytime on Amazon Music or wherever you get your podcasts.
Up next, traffic updates. A look at today's top stories, plus the Walter Cup and Suzuki's NHL ranking climb. We will be right back.
Every day, important stories happen across the city before any news crew arrives. Sometimes the very first person at the story is you. When you witness something newsworthy, open the GMNA Citizen Reporter app and start your report. The app guides you through every step while your report is delivered directly to the GMNA newsroom. Every submission is reviewed by our editorial team, and approved reports may be featured on GMNA. Get the GMNA Citizen Reporter app today at my.gmna.ca. Your city, your news.
And now here's Jason with sports.
Champions, centermen, and a prospect battle heating up. Let's get into it. The Walter Cup is home. The PWHL Championship trophy went missing late last week, setting off what had to be an uncomfortable few days for everyone in the Montreal Victoire organization. It has since been recovered and returned. The cup is back where it belongs with the champions. Nick Suzuki is climbing. The Canadiens' captain checks in at number 9 on NHL Network's top centerman list, up from number 10 a year ago. One spot may not sound like much, but moving forward in that conversation heading into a new season tells you the league is taking notice of where Suzuki's game is trending. Owen Beck slots in at number 15 in the Canadiens' top 25 under-25 rankings. Drafted in 2022, Beck has now played 27 NHL games over the past 2 seasons and scored his first goal with Montreal last year. He is no longer a projection. He is a player making a case for a real roster role. Big weeks ahead on the ice and in the front office. Stay close.
Thanks, Jason.
Welcome back. 4 major Quebec parties, including the Liberal Party, Coalition Avenir Quebec, Parti Québécois, and Quebec Solidaire, have pledged to adhere to a new artificial intelligence election conduct code, aiming for responsible campaign use. Elise Marchand has the full story.
4 of Quebec's biggest parties have signed on to a brand new code of conduct that sets limits on how artificial intelligence can be used during campaigns. The Parti Libéral du Québec, the Coalition Avenir Québec, the Parti Québécois, and Quebec Solidaire all pledged to follow the guidelines unveiled yesterday. The framework, drafted with input from IVADO and overseen by Catherine Regiz, lays out rules for data handling, transparency of AI-generated content, and safeguards against deepfake messaging. Officials say the agreement is intended to keep the electoral playing field fair as parties increasingly turn to machine learning tools for voter outreach. The code will be monitored throughout the upcoming provincial election cycle, with compliance checks planned by the Provincial Election Authority. Elise Marchand, GMNA News, Montreal.
The Quebec Liberal Party has selected criminal lawyer Nada Baumefta to run in the Maurice Richard riding as it finalizes its candidate slate for the upcoming provincial election in Montreal. Elise Marchand has the full story.
Criminal lawyer Nada Baumefta has officially entered the Quebec Liberal Party's roster, set to contest the Maurice Richard riding in Montreal. Party officials unveiled her candidacy on Monday morning, confirming she will bring a legal background to the campaign trail as the Liberals finalize their slate ahead of the forthcoming provincial election. Baumefta, who has spent years defending clients in Quebec courts, said she hopes to offer a fresh perspective on public safety and justice issues for residents of Maurice Richard. The announcement comes as the party races to fill seats across the province, aiming to present a unified front before voters head to the polls later this year. Elise Marchand, GMNA News, Montreal.
Thank you, Montreal, for joining us on The Wrap. Today's launch of the 901 Taschereau bus line reminded us how vital transit is for our community. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll be back tomorrow with more of the stories that matter. See you then.